Hello, good night, everybody, and welcome to the Meeting of the Minds podcast. Today is episode 18, and our topic is musicians in the church. Our guest tonight is praise and worship leader and host of the podcast, The Artist Speaks, Miss Hannah Love. Hannah, how are you? Wait, hold on. You might have to turn on.
I'm great. I'm great. I'm great. Super excited to be here and to chat about all things music, worship, and everything in between.
Okay, so now let's jump into this. The first question is, what are the responsibilities of an MD? And for those of you that don't know, MD stands for musical director. We know oftentimes there are people that curate music for churches and just music in general. So, what are the responsibilities that you've seen of an MD in church?
So, an MD's job descriptions, right, which is what you're asking for, is to ensure that there is music every week in church. This is including, but not limited to, a praise and worship team, a band. If your church has space for this, the music soloists, the instrumentation, ensuring that the praise and worship set list is submitted to the required personnel, ensuring that rehearsal is conducted on time, ensuring that all of the necessary and required personnel are there. The MD also communicates with the pastor to ensure that the praise and worship set list that is chosen by the worship team is in alignment with the sermon. So the MD may have a conversation on Monday or Tuesday, depending on what their recurring availability is, and they will check in from the previous week's service, asking what were some highlights, what were some lowlights, where can we grow, what did you like, what would you have preferred us to do, and then said, okay, what is your sermon topic? What is your scripture? Is there a specific song that you want heard during praise and worship? Is there a specific song that you want heard right before you stand up to preach? They will then relay this information to the scheduled parties for the upcoming service. And say, hey, pastor wants this, or there is a guest speaker and the guest speaker needs this. Their sole responsibility is to make sure that there is always music in service.
Okay, all right. So, with that being said, has there ever been a time where a musical director has put a song into the set time list that was not approved? And if that song was ended up being in the set list, did it come off as inappropriate? Because there are some songs that some churches will not sing at all because of the meaning behind it. Have you witnessed that in church?
So when you say not approved, do you mean not approved because the pastor doesn't prefer it? Or do you mean not approved as in the songs don't align with the church's doctrinal beliefs? Because that's not the same thing.
Okay, so when I say not approved, right? Like, let's just say that there was a set list of songs that were approved for worship, but all of a sudden, there's a song that comes in that was not previously discussed with the pastor by the musical director, and now that song is being done in service. And also, sometimes there could be certain songs that may not be approved because of their spiritual
Doctrinal
content,
belief,
or because
right?
of the fact that it doesn't align with the beliefs of the church. Is this something that you've witnessed before,
Oh,
being that you're a singer?
it's something that I've done. Now, here is the backstory. If I am the MD, you're trusting me to do my job. You're not micromanaging me. I'm having a conversation with you to know where you stand, what you're looking for, not asking the pastor to give me a set list. If I'm asking the pastor to give me a set list and he doesn't need me as an MD, he can be his own MD. That defeats the purpose. Me
Right.
checking if the pastor is saying, hey, so you're preaching on grace. Is there a specific song that you want heard? Oh, you want us to sing Grace, Grace, God's Grace? Cool. I now will pick other songs around this one song. In a church that I previously led worship for, I generated a list of songs that were biblical or whose theme and running message of the song can be found and supported in scripture. So there are times, right, before I touch on that, where the pastor may say, hey, I want this song, and I'll sing the song, or hey, this is a specific set that I want. Now, in service, we don't bend to man, we bend to God. So your
Right.
list is cute. However, if Holy Spirit says, I kind of want you to go in this direction, I'm bending to Holy Spirit. We can powwow on Monday, but in service, I'm a bend to what God said. So there
Right.
are times when the pastor may say, I want these three songs sung. And then in worship, God is like, I'm gonna need you to go in this direction. I'm gonna look at the pastor gonna look at me, he gonna give me the green light, and I'm gonna go because we take our marching orders from God. We don't take our marching orders from each other per se. Now, if there is a song that is not biblically accurate, which sometimes that can get a little dicey and it can get a little tricky because what one person discerns as biblically accurate, another person may not see a problem with it. For example, and this is a song that I pick on all the time. I'm chasing after you, no matter what I have to do. It's unbiblical. You cannot chase God. His word says, I will never leave you nor forsake you. God does not engage in cat and mouse games with us. So he doesn't invite us to worship him and then run away from us and encourage us to chase him. Pursue, run, chase are not the same. So in a case like that, I personally will not sing a song if I cannot find book, chapter, verse to support the theme of the song. I also will not sing a song that goes against the character of God. So I'm not going to sing a song about God being a liar because God is not a liar. I'm not going to sing a song about God abandoning us because his word says, I will never leave you or forsake you. So if scripture cannot support the theme of the song, I personally will not include it in the set or in the repertoire.
You just said something very profound, and I'll be honest. Like, I've sang that song before, with praise teams, but I never really looked at it in that chasing after God. I mean, I never really thought of it as a negative thing. But now that you just made mention of it, you said it's not biblical at all, which
No. So
makes
look at
sense.
the meaning of the word chase, right? I'm a big wordsmith, right?
Yes.
So the meaning, I'm pulling it up right now. The meaning of the word chase is to pursue in order to catch or catch up with.
Mm.
If God's heart is always open, he is always ready and willing and wants to invite me into any and all spaces. Why then do I need to chase him?
Mm.
God says, I'm here. He wants me to come to him. I don't have to chase him.
Right.
Hold on for
But
a
then,
quick second.
okay. For those of you that are just joining us, this is episode 18 of the Meeting of the Minds podcast. The episode is entitled Musicians in the Church. One of the questions that we talked about, this is the first question: what are the responsibilities of an MD in church? This is a very thought provoking conversation, and I'm hoping that other musicians will join in and chime in to this discussion.
Thank you.
All right. And we are back. All right, go ahead.
So
Now,
yeah, so
continue what you
yeah,
were saying.
there's no reason for me to chase God.
Mm.
His word says, behold, I stand at the door and knock, which means he's waiting for me. He's waiting for me. Why would he wait for me? And then when I accept an invitation, he runs away and then
Mm.
encourages me to chase him. That is not in alignment with his character. So I cannot sing a song that tells me to do what the word of God doesn't even support. That goes contrary to his character. That's not the God that I serve. If the God I serve is always welcoming me, I don't need to chase you. I just need to walk to you. You will receive me with open arms. Now, there are a list of other songs, and that's just one, right? If we are to look at, and this is where it gets a little hurtful, if we are to look at a lot of Black gospel, it has a very poverty driven approach. or a poverty driven undertone. You're always in lack. You're always trying to prove something to your haters. It's always someone's trying to get you and someone's trying to take something from you. Why don't you just use worship to focus on Jesus? Why are you robbing his time to talk about something that has nothing to do with him? Or worse, talking about Satan in worship. Like you're highlighting him in worship, and that's not his time. It doesn't make sense.
That that brings me to my next point. There's a song that's been going viral on the internet. I'm gonna sing a little. Matter of fact, I'm not even gonna sing it because I don't even want to. The song is called "The Devil Is a Liar," and I'm not sure how old that song is or if it's new. Um, but I remember there was a young Christian woman online. I don't really want to say her name, but she said something about that song was it was almost like mockery or something like that. What are your thoughts on it before we move on to the next question?
So I don't know the song, so I can't speak to what I don't know. The first
Okay.
time I heard the song was when it went viral.
Okay.
And naturally, the part of the song that went viral is the drive of the song.
Hmm.
I don't know the entire song. I don't know book, chapter, and verse. I don't know chapter one, chapter two. I don't know the premise of the song. I don't know the songwriter's heart when they penned the song. I don't know if this is something that came out of a personal struggle and they were just writing as a form of I'm feeling my feelings and these feelings need to go somewhere and I'm writing my pain and you guys are just benefiting from my I don't know. And so I will not speak to what I don't know. We do know that the devil is a liar,
Right.
right? He's a liar, a cheat, and he comes to lie, to kill, steal, and destroy. That's what he comes to
Right.
do. His character is not one that tells the truth. His character is one that bends the truth. So if I'm looking at that one line, the devil is a liar, well, he ain't a truth teller.
That's true.
If he were to tell the truth, then that would make him like God, and he's not. So no, he is a liar. That is his essence. That is his character. That part of the song is not inaccurate, but I don't know the entire song to speak to it.
Right. Okay. I can respect that. My next question is, how do musicians impact the worship service? And before you answer, um, we know that there are usually two sets of musicians. You have those that are saved in the church, and then you have those that are just, this is just my gig on the weekend. This is what I do to, you know, to make some money. So
Mhm.
how do these two sets of musicians, ones that are saved and ones that are not, how do they impact the worship service? Is there anything different within their spirituality as opposed to, I mean, in reference to how they approach the service of worship?
So a musician is hired by the church to play the instruments of their expertise for service. That is your job. In a perfect world, you would be saved. In a realistic world, most of our musicians are not saved, if we're being completely honest. As someone who has served in the role of MD, I just need to know that as a keyboardist, you don't hit transpose. That is like bare minimum. It is actually the first question I ask a musician. Do you know your keys? Do you play all of the keys? Or is the transpose button your best friend?
And that's embarrassing. If you can't play in all keys, why play?
As a drummer, do you know your instrument? As a bassist, do you know your instrument? As a vocalist, because vocalists are musicians, our instrument is the voice. The voice is an instrument. So
Right.
you know what your key of comfort is. Like I hang out in A and A flat. Like I am a baritone. I stay in the basement. I know my keys of comfort. So when I go to a musician, I'm going to say, "Do you know your keys?" If he says yes, great, put me in A flat. There's no other conversation left to have. That is the bare minimum. Do you know chords? If I tell you to hold the fourth, can you do that? If I tell you to
Mm.
diminish the seventh, can you do that? If I tell you to augment the second, can you do that? If I say I want a flat seventh, can you do that?
Whew. We talking about jazz chords right here. Go
Okay.
ahead.
If I go to the drummer and I say stay in the pocket, can you do that?
Mm.
If I go to a drummer and I say the song that I'm playing, it needs to sound like thunder and lightning, so hit the cymbals so that the cymbals sound like lightning. We know lightning doesn't have a sound.
Mm.
But if I go to a drummer and I say, I need you to make the cymbals sound like lightning, you should know what that means because this is your instrument.
Right.
If I go to a saxophonist and I go, can you make your sax sing? You should know that this is your instrument. So a musician is required to have some kind of skill that has been perfected over time that qualifies you to sit in this seat and back me up. Now, that is the role of a musician. We are in church. I need you to know about the God that we are singing about. It is very dangerous to have unsaved singers back you up in a sacred service if your service is not, and this is not a ding, but if your service leans into Holy Spirit and allows Him to run your service, as opposed to a service that is very structured. First we do this, then we do this. If you're in a flowy kind of church, I'm gonna need you to know who God is. Okay, because I need you to look at me. I need you to lock eyes with me and know what heaven is playing so that you can mimic that. That comes when you're saved.
Mm.
So if you are a musician, you need to be skilled in your instrument. That is a non-negotiable. That's not even bare minimum. That's like elementary. Okay. If
Right.
you are a saved musician, you need to know who God is, which means you need to be comfortable playing in multiple settings so that if you are in a church that's hold the five and drive, you can do that versus in a church that's like, nah, we're very prophetic. And I know we started praise and worship with, um, oh, the overwhelming, never ending, reckless love of God. And Holy Spirit is like, I really don't want to sing into the reckless love of God, but I want to sing into His grace.
Mm.
And you have to pivot from, oh, it chases me down, fine, still I'm found, leaves a 99. Grace, grace, God's grace. And you have to do that fluidly without the congregation knowing that you just changed your entire worship set. Your musicians have to be able to meet you there before you get there. Dunson is very good at doing that. Dunson is an African praise and worship leader who will tell the band he is singing in the key of C. He's in C major. He will turn to the band and talk in the key of E and say, meet me on E, because he's already there. And the band has to catch up. You don't have an option because he's already singing in the key of E. Him telling you to meet me on E is just in case your ears don't work. You can't hear that he's talking in E and he just left C. And then when he's done singing in E, he'll go meet me on F and go back down. Go up, sorry, to F. And he's talking in F when he says meet me on F, and you're supposed to know that. That's a skill set that most musicians don't have. But then he'll sing something and it's like, oh, the heavens just opened and there's now gold in my hands and whatever demon was in here gotta go. You have to be saved to do that, right? David was, and I'm done at this point. David was saved, and that's why when he played, demons left Saul. Like you have to have some kind of oil on you for you to touch your instrument and demons activate and get out. An unsaved person will invite the thing that the saved musician is trying to drive out. So you will want your musicians to be saved so that you're not inviting in the thing that the intercessors now have to pray and drive out at the end of service. It doesn't make sense.
Wow, that's deep. All right, so then let me ask this. Have you ever been in a situation where you were singing with other singers for a particular, event for a concert, whether it be gospel and well, gospel music, and singers were brought in that were not a part of the church, that were not a part of the faith at all? And were there any disastrous results
When you say not a
Because
part of faith, do you mean not a part of the body of believers or not a part of the denomination of the church that I'm singing in?
that's a good question.
I know.
I
That's why I'm
guess, well, necessarily the body of believers, and I guess also the denomination, but mostly just the body of believers in general, people that believe in God. Because I know
so,
denomination is secondary when it comes
and
to that.
that's why I asked. We have to, as believers, stop with this elitist because you're not of my faith, then I'm better or worse than you. So we have to change our language. Just because we're not of the same faith doesn't mean that we don't believe the same God, worship the same God, or serve the same God. It just means that you serve him in a way that your denomination has guidelines that you choose to follow. And I worship him in a way that my denomination has guidelines that I choose to follow. But it's the same God, it's the same body. You're the foot and I'm the arm. Right.
Right.
So, yes, I have sung with people that were not of the same faith as I am. I'm a worship leader. I am hired to sing at different churches. All of these churches are not in my denomination.
Right.
So, naturally, I have sung with people that do not believe as I believe. And no, it's not disastrous because guidelines are clearly set. I understand that you feel that you must speak in tongues to prove that you're saved. Over here, if you say that Jesus is Lord and you believe in your heart that he died for you and you accept his death for your sins, you are saved. Water is nice, but it ain't required for salvation, right? Nowhere in scripture does it say you must be baptized in order to be saved. What it says is you must believe, you must accept, and then you are saved, right? Baptism is the outward sign that lets others know of a decision that already happened in here. So naturally, I am going to sing alongside believers that may not believe that.
Mm.
I may sing alongside believers that say, well, the proof that you are saved is that you speak in tongues. Well, then what
Mm.
was I doing for the first 10 years of my salvific journey? Because I wasn't speaking in tongues then. So you try to say I wasn't saved until 5 years ago. That doesn't make sense. In cases like that, as the leader, you set the tone. Hey, we're here for Jesus. And if you can't bend to that, then you don't need to be here. That conversation actually happens in the interview. It doesn't happen my first Sunday or Sabbath leading. I know who I hired. That's why you're here.
Right.
If I am asked to come in to lead for a special service and I don't know what I'm walking into until the rehearsal, then that's a little bit different. Typically, what I do in the rehearsal is I will just start praying because it doesn't matter. And I say this loosely. It doesn't matter what you believe. When Jesus shows up in the room, it will confirm what you believe. Right. So it doesn't matter if you're Pentecost, Baptist, Apostolic, Adventist, Methodist. When Jesus shows up in the room, all of that will fade away. So I will, in rehearsal, set a tone so that Jesus is in the room.
Mm.
So now from rehearsal, you already know, okay, she's really not here for any of the mess nonsense. She just wants to sing about Jesus and sit down. You know what? It doesn't matter that she wears jewelry or doesn't. It doesn't matter that she wears makeup or doesn't. It doesn't matter that she's wear pants or doesn't. Jesus shows up when she takes the mic. The
Right.
atmosphere shifts when she takes the mic. People are set free when she takes the mic. Heaven opens when she takes the mic. You know what? Let me just stand behind her and sing my 4 notes, and that's it. So that's what I would say.
Okay. Now we're gonna move on to our next question. What are the main issues that church musicians face from pastoral staff and/or other departments?
With pastoral staff, it would usually be sometimes a difference in opinion if you're hired. I've sung at churches that were very conservative that felt like the only thing I should be singing is hymns. Yet they complain that there's no young people in the church. I'm gonna need you to. We can. I am on the battlefield for my Lord all day long. And you are
Yeah.
only going to attract the people that have been on the battlefield for 80 years. Pick a
Oh goodness.
Now, you can sing, oh, the overwhelming, never ending, and you also will not get the battlefield people in the building, right? Like,
Right.
you may not be fortunate and blessed to have both. So, with pastoral staff, sometimes the difference in opinion comes with the preference of music or music style. I prefer hymns versus I prefer contemporary versus I prefer traditional gospel versus I prefer hand clapping, foot stomping. That would be the issues that the pastoral team will have. Or some of like the challenges that you have. Those challenges are usually absorbed or those are resolved, sorry, when you come to a common agreement. If we're here for Jesus, let's just make his name big and go
Right.
home. Don't be upset that I chose to sing about Jesus and it wasn't to a hymn. Were we
Mm.
singing about Jesus? Focus on that. With other departments, it is usually a concern about pay, where I know that that's another question, and we'll get to it later. So I'll slightly touch on it and then I'll expound later. It's usually about pay and budget. We don't have the budget for this. So why can't we find someone in house to do it for free as opposed to invest so that you're getting quality on the mic? Um, so that those are typically the challenges that you see. A great way to resolve it is by having conversations with the pastoral team and the department heads, right? As a music director, if your church holds business meetings, you need to be present for them.
Mm.
If the church holds board meetings, you need to be present for them, right? You cannot expect to be valued and seen as an asset to the church if you're not present when the decision makers are in the room.
Right.
So, if you're an MD and there is a business meeting once a quarter, show up. It's 2 hours of your time. If you are an MD and the church has board meetings once a month, show up. If for nothing else, when they start saying, oh, we have a crusade, or we're having a evangelistic effort, or we're having a revival, or we're having a special weekend, and you're present, you can then say, great, so what's the budget for this? Because you are reserving budget for the speakers, you're reserving budget for the food, but you're not reserving budget for the musicians and the musicianship of the church. So you're going to have a dope event and the speakers are going to crap out halfway through the praise and worship set. And now we're not putting our best foot forward. So it's important to be present for those meetings so that you're part of the conversation, you're providing input, you're providing value, and they're not seeing you as the stranger that only shows up to church once or twice a week for a service. They're actually seeing you as a valuable part of the church.
Okay. All right. Um, I just want to let you know we have another panelist that is coming in right now.
Woo-hoo.
Trini is here. So, brother, thank you for joining us tonight, man. Really appreciate you.
Yes, sir. It was a very, 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 very long week, so I pretty much overslept. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
No, I understand. Now, I'm going to bring up the question again so you can answer it. Question was, what are the main issues that church musicians face from pastoral staff and or other departments? But you were a
This
musician, so you would know.
this is kind of a touchy subject. It really is. Put the question up one more time.
I got you.
What are the main issues that the church musicians face? We often sometimes face neglect because
Mm,
we're always told, do it for the Lord. It it's starting to feel like a cop out to purposely not pay us what we're worth, if that makes any sense. Because I don't think people truly understand what it takes, the hours, the practices, that us musicians go through. And just for me, for my drum set alone, that is literally $2,500 and then some. Okay. So, needless to
Yeah.
say, you got the cost of things, and then you have the transportation to get stuff there, and no one takes account any of this. And they just, oh, no, you're talented, you're good, man, you're good, you're good. You don't need, no, that's not okay. Because at the end of the day, we have real life going on within our households. We got bills, we got car issues, and things of that nature. So, oftentimes, it's neglect. And, to be completely honest, it's very distasteful because now it's leaving resentment between us and the church. And then people get upset when a secular artist decides, hey, we're going to offer you this opportunity if you want to come on tour with us.
Mm.
And all of a sudden, when we take that opportunity,
We're heathens.
yeah, we're heathens, we play for the devil, and this is not God glorifying music. And it's just like, it's not like I'm playing it on the Sabbath. And
Mm.
that's one. Secondly, I tend to look at the message in some of these secular songs. Like, I'm a part of a band called Burning Brain. And typically they play like rockish jazz, something like that. But leave it to the church to see the performances and the kind of people that come out and what people drink. If it's a bar, a venue, they don't care. Off rip, you're not playing for God. And now we're reprimanded, and now we're taken to the church board to be removed from playing. Like, why. You want us to stay committed in the church, but you refuse to use the resources to accommodate us?
Mm.
That's pretty far fetched to me, if you ask. But that's just my opinion. I've been a church musician for the longest, and I truly hate to say this. I really hate to say this. It seems as if problems like this only appear in the Adventist and Baptist church. It crept into the Baptist church.
It's
'Cause
actually, I'll correct that. It's actually in Black churches.
fair
Well,
enough.
no, I can't even say that because I do know some white churches that don't believe in paying their musicians. It's just a value issue. It's not a
Right.
race thing. It's not a color thing. It's just, do you value what I'm bringing to the table? Because if you don't, then you'll always tell me to play for free. You'll always tell me to travel 3 hours and play for free or sing for free. So I can't even say it's a race or a denomination thing. It's a mindset.
As a matter of fact, I completely agree. I most definitely wholeheartedly agree. And I think that's a huge issue because, again, you want people to come closer and feel welcomed and feel appreciated. And sometimes, oh, we'll be praying for you is just not going to cut it because you don't know who made it on their last dollar in gas to get to that venue. You don't know the traffic it took to get there, the man hours, the listening to the songs and listening to that part to make sure that intricate part was played well. And people just think it's just, oh, well, you're skilled, so you should be fine with it. And God gave you the gift, so why not return it back to Him? And I'm like, okay, I understand that part. I will never negate that. However, I've never seen a good church musician not leave their posts not sweating, if that makes
Mm.
any sense. So I don't know. It's just me.
There's something you said that I would love to piggyback on. I think another challenge, or I believe another challenge that musicians face is not feeling valued, not just monetarily wise, but their emotional bank is low.
Correct.
You only call me when you need me to sing. You only call me when you need me to play. But you didn't ask me if I was okay, because if you did, I would tell you I am so anxious that I don't know where my next dollar is coming from, that I haven't eaten for 3 days.
Mm,
Right? You would know that my partner and I have been at odds with each other for 3 months because I am never home for important family functions because my schedule is not Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. My
Mm.
schedule is actually Thursday or Wednesday to Sunday, and it's usually the other 9 to 5.
correct.
get to rehearsal at 7 and I don't leave rehearsal at 10 and I miss the third date night in a row. And my partner has already rearranged their schedule to accommodate rehearsals, and I'm canceling again. Or my children don't think I love them because they had a school play on Thursday, but I couldn't miss the school play because I had praise and worship rehearsal. Or when the church is sleeping at Friday at 7 o'clock, I am at rehearsal on a Friday night. So I missed 5 family worships in a row. And now my family thinks I'm unsaved because I am not singing a hymn and reading Ellen White on a Friday night when I'm really at church rehearsing. And when the vocalists have left, because I'm a musician, I'm still in the building for another 3 hours because I have to make sure that my pianist got the chord correct, because the incorrect chord that they played clashed with the chord that the vocalist sang. And now everything sounds like a hot mess, but I don't get that opportunity to express it because you didn't ask me if I was okay. You just asked me for my availability. You asked me for my price and had the mitigated gall to negotiate my value down by $50 because you don't think I'm valuable enough when you don't realize, yo, you cutting me $50 just means I need to take up 3 more gigs to make rent.
Mm.
You don't ask if I'm depressed. You don't ask if I'm anxious. You don't ask if I'm suicidal. Trini, you know that the suicidal rate in musicians is probably the highest. I'm tired of burying our people. It's frustrating and it's annoying. It's discouraging going to yet another funeral for someone that committed suicide because they were homeless. How do you not know that your MD has been homeless for 6 months?
Mm.
How do you not know that their pantry is bare or that their alternator needed to be? How do you not know this? Because you don't call and ask how they're doing. So that's another challenge. It would be amazing if the pastoral team made deposits in our emotional bank.
You know, this reminds me of a time where I'm not going to call the church out, but I was playing there for quite some time. And I was playing for the Light of the World Crusade. There was many crusades and many services and youth days that I would play for, and they didn't understand that my mom was going through some financial issues to where she couldn't even really afford to bring me to church. So I had to literally walk with a book bag with some, some hardware for the cymbals and whatnot, and truck it from Remington Street all the way to, what was it, 163rd or 165th, whatever that church is on, just to get there. And I'd be rushed, and why you sweating, why you this, why you that. And it's like, well, first of all, good morning, happy Sabbath, I'm feeling okay. Like, I would get rushed on, and then at the end of it all, I would get what, $20 out of somebody's pocket because they had to beg how many people just to compensate me or things of that nature. It's really discouraging because it's like, dude, we have lives. At some point, you got to check on the well being of your musicians. Like, yo,
Mhm.
how was your week? Was everything okay at work?
Are
Did
you okay?
things of that nature? It's not fair to us. It's not. And so, like, all I'm saying is, don't be surprised when your church drummer or pianist or even bassist gets fed up and they get offered these crazy deals with, you got the Pentecost of the world and you got, other churches. That's not home. If you want us to stay home, there's nothing wrong with fluffing little pillows a little bit. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Hello.
All right. So we got to move on to the next question, but I'll say something real quick. So I was playing for a church in 2013, starting in May. By September, one of the musicians told me, "Oh, the church said they can't pay you because you're not a member here." So the day that I was getting ready to play and I was supposed to get my check, the treasurer was like, "Oh, did they tell you?" I'm like, "Yeah." He was like, "Oh, okay, good." I'm like, "What?" Mind you, I was playing for another church also as well. And the next month after, like the next church I was playing for, that church closed, stopped getting paid. So for the next 8 months, nothing. So what I would do was the second church that I was playing for that stopped paying me, I was like, all right, y'all not gonna get me second and fourth. I'm only coming fourth. And that was it. And during this time, they did not know that I did not have I was like by this time a year out of college, still looking for a job. So drumming was the way that I made my money. So for 8 months I had nothing. Another church opened up in the same location as that first church. That church ended up relocating and moving. And so once again, for about 3 or 4 months, I was out of work until I actually finally got a job. Funny thing though, the church that stopped paying me when the pandemic happened and we ended up having to move into a different building by 2021, they brought me back. I got to
Mm.
negotiate my price and I started playing. But one of the elders was like, "Oh, but aren't you playing for the Lord?" Yeah, but I'd like to be like compensated. You know what I mean? I got equipment that I have to bring because when I saw the drums, there were no
Not
hi-hats,
stressed.
no cymbals. I had to bring that myself. The only thing that was there was like a little old seat. So I literally every weekend, like after I was able to negotiate things, I literally would be carrying a cymbal stand in one hand. And matter of fact, hold on,
Oh snap!
hold on. See if I can find it. Imagine carrying this on a city bus along with a large cymbal bag
Every Sabbath, bro.
every week until the church ended up closing and merging. But this is what I had to do. You know what I mean? So it's a lot to deal with. Like I wasn't gonna go and play again after the church had been closed for a year and not get paid. It's like, nah, I learned my lesson before. And when I was younger, I should have been like, hold on, wait. So y'all been having me play since May. Now you're talking about you're not going to pay me because I'm not a member of this church. And at the time, this church, I'll be honest, it was still a mission. So they were probably trying to save, but still,
Hold on, you
I'm
should
there.
explain. Hold on, you're using Adventist terminology and you may have non Adventists watching. So you have to explain what a mission is for those that are non Adventists so that they can understand what that means as far as the financial breakdown of the church.
Mm.
All right, because I wasn't trying to mention SDA, but I guess
You
we have to talk
mentioned
about.
it, you said mission. No other church uses that language.
I never thought of it like that. So basically, a mission is a little small startup after a crusade takes place. A crusade usually takes place at a local church. People get saved, baptized, you know what I mean? And so they decide out of that crusade from that church, we're going to create a little small mission, and after maybe probably 3 or 5 years, that mission will be hold on, let me stop.
Mhm.
Sometimes there's
Years after the church generates a certain amount of money. The
okay, so
tithe has to meet a certain dollar amount for a
right.
church to qualify for moving from mission status to church status. It's not years, it's money. The church has to literally hit a
You're
bottom
right.
dollar.
You're right. Let me you see, that's why I'm glad that she's here. So that's
That's
correct.
why I
See,
said say that because someone who doesn't know that, they're not going to know that a mission does not make money.
right.
They're making just enough to keep the lights on, and they are not supported by the conference. So they don't have the financial backing of the conference to keep them afloat. What they make is what they have to turn to keep the lights on, so they can't afford a musician. That's why it's important to say that.
Right. And
Mm.
and let me make one more statement. Usually a lot of these missions, they do not have their own church, so they might
Mhm.
rent a local Sunday church. Could be a Baptist church they're renting from, or Episcopalian, any of these things. You know what I mean? Um, some missions can go on for at least 20 years, which is
Yo.
even crazy to think. You know what I mean? So, you know, after a few years of that particular church mission, the mission actually turned into a church and they had generated enough funds. You know what I mean? But when that situation happened, and here's the thing, I never told anybody that I was without a job. This Sunday church closed, and I was like, okay, I'll go and I'll find something. And I started sending in resumes to other churches locally within the area, and not just events, it's just like other churches. But I remember that time for 8 months I was struggling. I'm like, man, how am I surviving? How is my bank account still open? You know what I mean? So I know what it's like to be a part of something and to not be properly compensated, and for people to not be concerned and ask like, yo, how you doing? How's everything going? Because look, me being fresh out of school, that's another thing, you know. And before I had left school, I started, as a professional drummer. So by this time, I'm 2 years in, you know. So you never think about things when they fall apart. And people go through situations. Situations happen, you know. But I'm glad that we're having this talk because, even though I wasn't depressed in any way, it was still difficult because it was like I have to find a way to make money somehow as a musician. And those 8 months were crazy, you know.
Wow.
I'm gonna jump to the next question, and this is a question that you guys are gonna like. Is there room for you to grow as a musician at your church locally? And before you answer, I want you to think about how old you were when you started your ministry. So, uh, Hannah and then Trini.
So the first time I sang, I was 3 years old. Um, it was Children's Day. The Sunbeam Choir was singing, and my solo was, "I am a promise, I am a possibility, I am a promise with a capital P. I am a great big bundle of," and I literally
Oh, that song.
stood. No, 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 no. My interpretation embarrassed my parents. I stood in the front of the people that I'm hoity-toity good at Adventist church
Oh gosh.
and put my hand on my hip and bounced. Potentiality.
Get out the zone, yo. They put a
my
license in it.
my father was sitting on the pulpit and he went,
That man said, "Excuse me."
my mother is sitting in the back going, we did not rehearse this last night. I was 3. Needless to say, I am still bouncing my hips in church. That has not changed.
Mercy.
However, I went from doing that to having leads on the Sunbeam Choir to the little old ladies in the church would be singing, "Shout to the Lord, all the earth, let us sing." And my sister and I will kind of run to the front of church and grab the mic. "Honor and majesty, praise to the King," in our squeaky rat-like voices. However, as I got older, when my church realized that I actually could sing and match key, I was given more opportunities to sing. To now where my current church does have room for growth, right? I started singing at my current church by accident. I was not scheduled. It was Tuesday night prayer, and the worship leader messages me and goes, "Hey, you have to sing." I'm not even on the worship team. I am not on the worship team. "Hey, you have to sing. I'm stuck at work." "Sweetie, I need you to cover for me, please. Please."
Mm.
I said, "Okay, fine." So I sang. And as the story goes, my darling apostle knew that I was apparently tearing up the stage because he was getting the messages while service was still happening. And he was like, "Oh, this needs to happen again." And then I sang at the next Tuesday night, not the next Tuesday night prayer, the Tuesday night prayer after that. I am now on the worship team. There is room for growth at a church that will allow you to grow. There will never be room at a church that does not allow you to grow. So if they only want you to sing from the same set list of 15, you can't grow there because you're singing the same 15 songs. If they are like, you know what, we trust your skill and we trust the God in you, you have full permission to use us as a sandbox to play, you naturally will grow. So that has been my journey from bouncing my hip to I am a promise to still bouncing my hip and giving directions to the drummer with my hips. Like, Look at my hips, you'll know the tempo that I want you to play in, and it works.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Wow.
that's my experience.
For me, it's let me see. My church drumming career actually it started at Jamaica Church. Um my mother, because of personal reasons, we went church shopping for a while, and we ended up kind of late, but we ended up at Jamaica Church and whatnot. And this is I haven't been to Jamaica Church since I was like 3 or 4 ish, so I don't even remember nobody. Everybody remember my older sister, whatever the case. So I got introduced to Carla. Carla meets my mom. They're
Mm.
conversing, and then that's when Miss Harewood. And then my mother mentions he's a drummer, and then out of nowhere, Carla was like, "You play the drums? I didn't know it." I'm like, "Wait, I don't even know you, but that's fine. I'll play whatever." So I can honestly say, just like she said, it could definitely help you grow to a certain extent because playing in the church taught me a few things. Taught me how to be punctual in terms of being on time.
Mm.
Taught me how to play conservative and really quiet because playing in a Caribbean church, you just don't play loud. That's just not a thing because you will be reprimanded and condemned for it. Um, it taught me how to, dress with panache and look the part and look professional and things of that nature. And then since, from there, that's when Second Calvary Baptist Church in Brooklyn, and that's when I discovered, oh, we can get paid for this. Like I didn't even know musicians were getting paid until Second Calvary even mentioned it. Like, here you go. I'm like, what's this? That's your pay for the day. I was like, every Sunday? And she's like, yeah, does your church not do this? I was quiet. So it'll teach you a few things, but it'll teach you a lot to a certain extent because you have some churches that are just strictly this. That's their definition of holiness. That's that. And you can't grow if there's a cap, especially if that cap doesn't have any holes or filtration system for you to breathe and spread your wings and fly.
Mhm.
Sometimes okay, how my mother would tell me, yes, we believe in the Bible. The Bible is just. We believe everything. However, there are other books that also back up the scriptures that's not going to be found in the Bible. So, that being said, you can't just learn different styles of playing drums in the church. Sometimes you need to branch out, especially where, just playing for secular music comes from. Because if you look at a lot of these artists, the majority of their musicians, they're all church musicians, every last one of them. Every last one of them. And they'll tell you, like, listen, man, I love my church, I love God, but I just couldn't thrive. Not even the way I wanted to. I just couldn't thrive the way I needed to because, you know, I'm stressed out. I got a lot of stuff going on with school mentally, and it's like you're trying to learn how to cope while accommodating not just the people on the rostrum, but for everybody that's in attendance. And so, with all that going on, how can I learn if I'm being told to quiet down? How can I do chops if I'm being told, oh, we don't need to hear those notes here. That song didn't require that, and this, that, and the other. It's true. There's been plenty of youth days where Carlos she'll hey, listen, I need you to bring it today, and it's a bunch of churches upstairs, so you need to play so people can hear you. And the moment I start, every deacon on the rostrum is like in front of everybody. And it's like
I'm used to that. I dealt with it before. I know. I
it
know.
is the most humiliating and embarrassing thing because now everybody, you remember where the drums used to be at in Jamaica Church? Like, bro, it used to be
Oh yeah.
tucked to the left. So now everybody got this whole view and they looking at you and you're just like, yo, I don't even want to do this no more. But it'll teach you patience as well.
Mhm.
All of my patience came from playing in the Adventist church because there'll be days where you're told, oh, yeah, you're gonna
No,
be playing for both services on Youth Day. It's gonna be all you, and then you get to church and you find out, oh, so the main service is gonna be played by TJ, and I'll just be playing in the afternoon. with all the
Mm.
plays and stuff. That's cool. Like I was there for every single rehearsal, but that's fine. You know, it's typically he was there before me. It's his church, whatever. But I just didn't like how some people will come out the woodwork and remember, oh snap, Jamaica Church does have a drum set. And now that I added, different intricate things to it to make it sound better, now everybody suddenly wants to come out the woodwork and claim they're a musician and their rightful throne, if you will. But it'll teach you, just like she said, it'll teach you as far as you can to a certain extent, but you can't thrive just in that. You got to be able to grow outside.
I will always suggest musicians listen to like the cousin of whatever the song calls for. For example, there are some songs that have a rock undertone,
Mm-hmm.
like have that heavy metal crashing. I will tell the musician, go home and listen to rock because that's the cousin of the gospel song, right? Gospel is the only genre that encapsulates every existing genre. So you
Of
have
course.
gospel rap, gospel R&B, gospel hip hop, gospel trap. You have the gospel version or the sacred version to the secular option that's out there. That's just how gospel works. So if I want you to learn how to suspend a note a certain way as a vocalist, I'll tell you to listen to Mary J. Blige because that's the
Mm.
cousin. If I want a drummer to hit notes in a certain way or to hit their drums a certain way, I'll tell you go listen to rock. If I want the pianist to have more agility with their fingers, I'll tell you to go listen to jazz because that's the cousin of the end result. We have to, as a church, stop demonizing secular music because they clearly have something right. They're the ones making the records and we're not. They're the ones that are selling our concerts and we're not. So clearly they're doing something right. There's nothing wrong with listening to secular music.
Say
You
that again.
you have to learn it. You have to challenge yourself in that way. You are going to be better when you're the small fish in a big pond.
Say that.
So I will always encourage a musician, use wisdom, of course. Please go and listen to Linkin Park. Please, please, please. Because when their singers sing, they're not hoarse. When we sing, we are. So clearly they're doing something right. And we need to learn what it is so that we can have the same execution without sounding like a hot mess. So I will always encourage a musician, listen to the cousin, listen to rock, listen to R&B, listen to hip hop so you can learn.
It's so crazy you say to go listen to rock because I used to listen to some. I still listen to like a lot of metal, and I remember while listening, there was a whole service going on upstairs for youth and teens about different genres of music and what should be tolerated in the church and what shouldn't. And once they threw rock up there, everybody's like, "Oh, here we go," and I'm just
Mhm.
like, "Wow!" And then everybody's looking at me like, "You need to stop listening to Slipknot and stop listening to all these
Oh,
people." I'm just like, I can understand that, but I listen to music very differently. Like I listen
yes.
to intricate sounds and how things are supposed to sound. So if you don't play these songs right, you're not going to get the gig. It's going to sound terrible.
I think they forget the mind of a musician is not like the mind of a general member. We're
Mm.
not listening to music the same way that the member is. When I'm listening to jazz, I'm listening to, oh, wow, I love what they did with that chord. I am singing this song for praise and worship. I wonder if I could borrow that chord because it will bring up, like, it'll bring up the song. It'll add a
It'll
flavor
enhance it.
song that wasn't there before. But I can't know what's out there if I don't listen to it. Musicians aren't listening to songs and losing their salvation. First of all, you can't lose your salvation. It's a status. Let's make that very clear. It is not a pawn that can get it is not a status that gets revoked. It's not a card that gets pulled. Either you are saved or you're not. Listening to a little R&B is not going to make me any less God's daughter, right? Like my status as his daughter is unchanging.
There you go.
Okay? So I can listen to R&B and still keep my salvation because one is not predicated on the other.
Mm-hmm.
As a musician, this is actually my homework. Right? This is my homework. This is how my ears are sharpened. I did not learn how to identify incorrect issues in live music until I listened to live music.
Mm.
That's
So when a
exactly it.
musician, when we're listening to other things, it is so that our ears are sharper. It's our homework. It's just let us do our homework, please.
Thank you.
Now, I got another question. We got four more questions left. This question: what attire is considered appropriate as a church musician? Now, people are sticklers for, you know, put on your best dress or slacks, shirt. So I want to hear you guys respond to this matter because it's a big issue right now in most churches.
Here's my thing. I don't mean to cut nobody off, but as much as you know that you can't get into certain clubs if you don't have the club attire, if you know what the church requires, please don't try to negate their rules and regulations. They hired you, you are the employee. Please dress accordingly. You don't have to come. There's no need for you to come. I mean, the jeans are nice, but they got holes in them, and you got your Yeezy shirt or whatever the case may be. That's not church. That's not where I come from. If they ask you to please, wear a three-piece suit, wear the three-piece suit. You don't even have to wear the jacket. Just wear the suit. If you know better, do better. And most musicians, they know better. But now that we're in the era where everybody has an opinion, everybody has a choice, everybody can say what they want to say and not, have any kind of consequence for it because our opinions are validated and we matter, whatever the case. No, it can't be that way. These this is the set list. This is the list, the rules and list of terms and conditions. Abide by them. That's another way of keeping your job. Abide by them. You don't need to show how much tattoos you have on your arm. There's no need for that. Cover up. Just like you want your lady to be covered up, cover up. Us men can be covered up too. Some of us, we have tattoos and we just can't help but to show it because, we just have to make a statement. It doesn't have to be that way. Man, come on. You know how to dress.
So I agree to a point. Um, I will always say make sure you pass like the 90-degree test. So if you bend over, am I seeing anything in the front or the back?
There you
If
go.
you stand up,
Woo!
oh yeah, 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 yeah,
We
yeah.
going there tonight.
We going.
And I'm a busty Betty, so I have to. Like that's not an option for me. I will spill if I'm not mindful of my undergarments. Speaking to, first of all, there's an old dancehall song, "Young Girl, Wear Your Size." That applies.
Mm-hmm.
If you are a 14, wear a 14. You look sloppy when you're trying to squeeze a 14 into an 8. It doesn't make sense.
Mm.
Right? So I will always say make sure that you are presentable. Um, I should assume that you're wearing undergarments because you're put together. I should not know that you're wearing undergarments because I can see them.
Mm.
Correct.
Right? Um, so make sure that I don't see a panty line. Make sure, gentlemen, that you tuck. I don't care how uncomfortable it is. I got eyes and they work. And when you go up there and you're
Hold on,
wearing,
hold on. Hold on. That happens in church. In churches.
honey,
That happens.
honey, honey, you've
Yes.
I've
never
never
seen
heard
a section?
of. Yo, that's
Talk
crazy.
about it.
So please do not go up there and wear the tight pants because I have eyes.
Yo, that's crazy.
I'm
Talk
not
about it.
That's
blind.
crazy.
My eyes work. I can see your print. And I'm distracted. Now I'm not
In church of all places.
Lord rising among us. I'm thinking of another Lord who's rising among us and it needs to be tucked. Essentially, you want to present yourself in a way where someone is not distracted by what you're presenting,
Correct.
Mm.
right? So that's the first thing. The second thing, you want to be comfortable. Like you said, if you are in a church that requires that you be suited and booted, wearing slacks and a polo is not terrible. However, my pastor preaches in J's and shorts. So clearly,
Oh,
I can wear whatever I want to wear. It still needs to be mindful. Um, so on the other side of that, yes, we do want to have our personality shine through. Yes, we do want to make a statement. You also don't want to give yourself anxiety with trying to find the right threads to wear. If you find that you are getting anxious every time you have to get dressed for a specific gig, you may need to reconsider that gig.
Mm.
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 So if you find that every service, what used to be, you know what, these pants are clean, these shirts are clean, this shirt is clean, these sneakers are clean, or these shoes are clean, I'm gonna throw it on, it fits, it matches, I'm comfortable, we're good to go. If you're realizing that there's anxiety here, we may need to reconsider. If there's pride here, we may need to reconsider. Are you wearing this so that you can be seen? Are you wearing this so that you can turn heads, right? So that is the negative side of like, well, that's one side of like dressing. Here's the next side. I'm gonna step on a toe and I don't care. Soap and water was invented for such a time as this.
Mercy.
Don't people, let me stop.
Go and bathe, please.
One beard.
Who doesn't bathe before they go to a gig? That's crazy.
Hey,
There are plenty people that think that I almost called it what it was, and the Holy Spirit, that take triangle showers before stepping out of their house.
What?
Please,
Yo.
please, I beg, go and bed. Wash your head and your back.
one beard, please.
Okay. Lotion up your skin. Okay. Please brush your teeth and your tongue.
Mm.
Spray on a perfume. Okay.
See, y'all can't see it, but this is
All right.
That's the Bees
The
News.
problem, we always hyper fixate on your skirt is too short and you're this and you're that, but then we don't address hygiene.
I've never seen. Yo, that's crazy.
Okay.
I've never seen a stink musician in my life or singer.
Okay, so I'm a little bougie. I have a scent bird. I'm high maintenance. I'm also maintaining myself. So I budget for high maintenance stuff. Okay. So I have a scent bird subscription. Why? Because I like perfume and I like to smell good.
Mm.
Okay. You are going to smell me before I walk into a room and not for the wrong reasons.
Mm-hmm.
It is very, very important that what you present before the people is a sweet incense.
There's a sweet.
Yes.
A sweet saver. So yes, we can talk about what not to wear. We can talk about angles and comfortability and anxiety, but we also need to make sure that we're not offending people in the parking lot.
Mm.
Okay? The mother shouldn't have to come to you and help you wash up before you grab the mic.
Mercy.
I also should not know what you did last night, huh? I understand that you had a gig in a nightclub.
Mm.
I have locks.
Mm.
Smells get tracked in my
Yeah.
locks.
Mm-hmm.
Before, if I know I had a gig at a club the night before, like an open mic night,
Yeah.
we know what happens in open mic nights. I am washing my hair when I go to bed that night so that the
Right.
smell isn't trapped in my locks. The jacket that I wore to the open mic night on Saturday is not the jacket that I'm wearing to church on Sunday because
That's right.
smells are held in fabrics.
It's
Right.
true.
So we forget these things. I'm so focused on I got on my best threads that I can smell who you woke up with last night. I can
Mercy.
smell them on you.
Egyptian musk don't work no more.
I said
You got to get this.
The gospel according to Hannah,
Mm.
soap and water was created for such a time as this. Please go and bathe. Please go and bathe. It is imperative. You're please. My nose is offended. Go and bathe. Please. I can fix I can fix a crumpled skirt. I can. It's called a steamer.
Hello.
Yeah.
Right? I can fix buttons that aren't buttoning properly. That's called needle and thread and a latch pin. I can fix that. I can't fix 5-day-old funk. I can't. And I don't want to because we're all adults.
Right. And
That's
let's
the
tell that.
essence of hygiene.
Yeah, let's tell that to the people who say they only shower once a week. And I know
Oh
you've seen those
nah.
videos. Yeah, I don't know how people do that. Now let's move, let's move on to the next
That's
question.
concerning.
I know, right? Why would some churches rather why would some churches rather hire musicians within their denomination as opposed to outside?
Oh, I can answer that firsthand. Because they can get away with not paying their musicians and giving them the respect that they deserve. They
Mm,
rather trample us because they know people from the outside are going to demand, hey, this is my bottom line. I'm not going any lower. I don't need to go higher. This is my bottom line. And they do not, they know they can't get away with negotiating down.
Mhm.
They just know. That, man, that was me so many times. Like, it's so, it sometimes infuriates me. It does. They don't treat you with the respect that you deserve. They will never compensate you. The moment you try to think that your voice will be heard in this board meeting, it's not. You'll be sitting there for hours, and maybe they'll wink on that subject. Other than that, bro, no, no, not at all. It's especially if they know you since you was a child and you grew up in the church, bro. They're not finna pay you nada, nothing. They know, they know, and I'm gonna give it to her now. Oh yeah.
The other side of that is so that's like the head side of the coin. The tail side of the coin is there is already a mutual understanding of what we do here.
Correct.
For example, I go to Hungry for God Church in Brooklyn, New York. Shout out to my tribe. We're dope on
Uh,
okay. It is very normal for services to result in someone getting healed. Like in real life. Like for example, I saw someone's foot grow in church. Okay. The foot was like this, right?
mhm.
I'm trying to the foot was like this. The minister prayed, the foot did this.
I've seen those stories on Sid Roth is Supernatural.
That's
I've
nice.
Um,
seen
I
it. I've
saw it
seen
in
it
real life.
firsthand. Yeah.
yeah,
I literally said, if her foot grows, I'm going to cry. Her foot grew, and I'm getting all emotional. I sat and I was like, did her foot just grow?
wow.
I prayed for someone with herpes,
Mhm.
went to the doctor, and there is no trace of it in the blood. Not undetectable, as in it was never there. That's normal in my church.
That's a
Like,
God right
it's
there.
actually weird if it doesn't happen. What do you mean God didn't turn up and something didn't like there wasn't no supernatural nothing? What you mean God showed up and someone didn't get delivered, someone wasn't healed? What do you mean? We prayed for you and God didn't reveal something about you that needed healing. Explaining that to my mother is weird.
Mm.
So there are benefits to hiring someone in-house because there is a mutual understanding of the culture. So I can look at the worship leader if I'm scheduled to sing that Sunday because now I'm on the worship team. Yay. I can look at the worship leader and whoop, whoop. I can look at the worship leader and go, yo, you got anything? And we both understand what that means, right? For those that don't know, it simply means in this moment, I am listening to what God wants us to sing into, and I'm going to sing that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I can look at him and say, you got anything? And he'll be like, nah, whatever you got, run with it. And then I can look at the band and go, can you make it sound like a thunderstorm? And they know that what I really mean is I want to hear rock. That's really what I mean.
Mm.
That understanding only comes when you are familiar with the culture of the house.
Amen.
That understanding only comes when the DNA of the church is in you. When I can look in aspects of the church and see your thumbprint there. I say all that to say, when you are hiring musicians, there are pros and cons to hiring an outsider and hiring within. You just have to discern which pro is greater and then lean into that.
She's
Okay,
on the money, bro. Oh my gosh.
of course. Now, I got another question. What are some hurtful things you've heard from the congregation in reference to your music? Well, in reference to your music ministry, I should put it like that.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. I I listen. I'd been told I worshiped the devil while I was playing in church. So now that I played them, like I'm a part of two secular bands, and they both happen to play classic rock, such as Aerosmith, Eddie Van Halen, AC/DC, things of that nature. So when I decide to post a recent performance that I would have or anything like that, there's always a certain select few who it's like they just know you're going to hell. They just know it in their spirit that you're just not going to make it into the kingdom, and it's very hurtful because again, it's discouraging. How am I supposed to play to the best of my ability for the Most High's honor and glory when I have the so-called quote unquote saints telling me I'm wasting my time?
Mm.
Make that make sense. But you want me to show up to Sabbath services or whatever services consistently with a smile on my face, like nothing ever happened. You want me to be there at the potluck and, congregate with the saints, but I know what you think about me. I know what you've said about me. And whatever is told to me by a third party about what you said, I'm not shocked because you said it to my face. So there's a lot of hurtful things that come along with it. However, I believe that you need to know the Most High for yourself because you're playing for His honor and glory. What everyone else has to say is null and void unless you take it personal and you allow it to be planted, watered, and then it's going to grow into something evil and worse futuristically. It's really important to know God for yourself because people are going to talk. They don't have to know you, and they're still going to talk. It comes with the territory. But I've heard I worship Satan. I heard I will never amount to nothing. I heard drumming just can't be your only source of, it just can't be it all. It can't do it for you. I would never get far. I was told a whole bunch of nonsense, but I have a loving father. I have an outstanding family, and I've grown. Dude, you can't allow anyone to deter you off the journey that you're on. You cannot. You have to learn how to block out the noise and just, hey, the quickest prayer will get you through the whole day. Like, look, Lord, I'm here. I'm just asking that you just keep a hedge over me, over my family, just something small. And go in there with a clear mind and do what you got to do. You don't even have to stay. Do what you got to do and get out. Do what the work is to be done and then leave. That's it. Hannah, go on.
I would say my favorite that I've heard is I didn't like your praise and worship set.
What?
Mhm. Now, the
Are you
Lord is
crazy?
working on my tongue because my sarcastic quip was, that's amazing, seeing as how you're not the person I was worshiping today.
Merciful.
Mm.
And I said it with a straight face. You weren't the guest of honor. You are not who we gathered and convened. You're not the person that sits on high. You are not the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. You are not the lily of the valley. You are
Mm,
not the bright and morning star. You are not the one that places the stars in the sky. I did not know that you were the litmus test for the success of worship today.
mm.
Now, if you didn't like worship, feel free to join me next week in song with the songs that have been chosen. If you did not like worship, maybe you should worship before you get to church.
Mm.
I am not
Yo.
Spotify. I am not pushing play. This is not the 80s. You're not hitting play on the 8 track and I'm going to sing whatever you want. I'm not them. I'm me. So if you didn't like praise and worship, maybe just maybe you need to examine why you didn't like it and stop shifting the blame to me because I will kindly return it back to you.
Mm,
I've heard that, and usually it stops them in their track. Well, don't you want to hear why I didn't like it? I don't care why you didn't like it because you're not the person that I was trying to please.
Mm.
You're not my savior. You're not my king and you're not my Lord. You are not the person I was aiming to please in church today. So your likability of the worship set is null and void. But please feel free to share unwanted information.
right.
Oh, I didn't like your song set. Well, what songs do you prefer for praise and worship? I prefer this. So then listen to it on your way to church next week.
Mm.
How about you start worshiping before I grab the mic? Maybe, just maybe, if you've listened to your favorite song 6 days in a row, you'll be tired of it and you won't want to hear it on the seventh.
Mm, 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 mm,
And you
mm.
won't rock with whatever I sing. Or I could sing nothing and you can be rocking out to silence. And we all gonna be uncomfortable because God's gonna start talking and he might tell you something that you don't want to hear. It will be in your best interest to let me sing Oh Come, Emmanuel.
Right.
So that's what I've heard on the pulpit. And the Lord is still yet working on my tongue. But that has been my response. You're not the person that I was trying to please in worship today. Therefore, I don't care.
Bro, Hannah got some haymakers, bro. Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
Now we are down to the final question. What advice would you give to young musicians who are just starting out in ministry?
Mm. I'm gonna let her take this one. I'll answer after.
Practice. Practice would be the first thing. Um, get a mentor. Get someone who's been doing this longer than you have. Someone who has skin in the game. Um, talk to your boss, Jesus, and them. Okay, like have regular council meetings with the triune. Okay, understand their heart, understand why they picked you. Like you might want to talk to them. I said practice already, right?
Yes.
I'll say it again, practice and humble yourself. You're not a know-it-all. I have been leading worship since I was a teenager. I am 35 years old. I do not know it all.
Mm,
Oh, not bad. I'm only 33.
Um, yeah, practice, get a mentor, practice, talk to God, practice. Like practice, you get gigs because you're skilled. You don't get gigs because you're likable.
Mm.
I don't care how amazing you are. If you transpose, you are not my pianist. I'm sorry. I don't care how well you dress. If you do not know your instrument, you're not my bassist. That's what I would say. That would be my advice.
I love it. I'm gonna land back off of her. Again, we can't say this enough. Practice. Secondly, it's important to lose your Hollywood spirit. Leave it at the door. We don't need it.
Mm, yeah.
repeat
Because
that
you
again. Say that again one more time so the people out there can hear it.
lose your Hollywood spirit because we do not need it. Let me explain and edify. Because you know all the chops and you know all the cool rudiments and you're definitely dope around the kid, but now you're walking around as if you're untouchable and you just have this bougie way of communicating with people. Like, oh, so let's say you got a couple kids and teens who want to learn and they're watching you and things of that nature, and they ask you, "Hey, how you do that?" And you just look at them like, "I don't know." You can't be that way. You understand everybody has started somewhere. Know how you started and who you're playing for. You're not playing for yourself. Because as God gave you your talents and all that, believe me, in a heartbeat, He can snatch that back so fast. Because I think I told you about the whole incident where I had this whole crash and all that. I literally, any faster that man was driving, I could have died and I wouldn't even be here talking. Lucky for me, I made it out with a fractured arm and a broken wrist and a bruised spine and two cracked ribs. Other than that, I'm alive to tell the story. I can actually function. I can play again, and I'm a lot more humble today than I was over 3.5 months ago.
Mm.
Um,
I almost even forgot about that, bro. That's
for
very
sure,
much
and
serious.
it's because it seems so far back. It's a minor issue that, I'm not dead. I'm alive. But however,
Right.
in that moment that it happened, I understand how God is just not playing with me. He's not.
Mm.
Um, Another thing, read the room.
Touchdown.
Know when to insert yourself for whatever solo when it's time and when it warrants it. You cannot start a simple song and do the craziest things around the kit or on the bass. It's too much confusion. Understand, you're here to worship. You need to usher the Holy Spirit in. You can't you can't just make noise and all this intricate intros and stuff like that is not always warranted. Just play your position, and
Mm.
when we all give you that, I like, yo, do something. That's the time you do that. You don't do that on your own. Don't. Oh, another thing. If you are on the gig, you're actively on the gig.
Hmm.
That day is not the time to do something new that we didn't practice the night before.
Right.
Bro, get out of my head because I was yes. Yes. Yes.
You will lose your job so fast. Whatever material that you get and they give you, even if they only practice 4 out of them 8 songs, learn them all. Learn them all because now you're showing your bosses, wow, he's taking this seriously. This man went ahead and learned all of them, and we only said we're doing 4. Learn them all. Um, be well equipped. If you know what you're supposed to do, make sure you don't leave an XLR. Make sure you don't leave any type of wiring. Bring a drum key. Always have something on standby because life does happen and you
Right.
need to have a plan B at least through D.
I've been in those situations, so I know.
Like I've been in many situations where oh yeah, does the church set already here? And you thinking, all right, cool, I ain't gotta bring nothing. You show up and you got a zillion ZBT and it's cracked down the middle. You
Yes.
have no hi-hat shutter, so now you're just stuck with an open with an open
Mm.
it's too much. And you have no kick.
And it's
You
got a
you
hole
got
in
yeah, oh, another thing.
it.
If you decide to not bring your own equipment,
Yeah.
learn to work with what you have without complaining.
Mm.
The set doesn't have to be the best.
Right.
However, hmm, how many sins that we commit daily that God winks on? We are not perfect beings. We can only strive to be perfect beings. That is not a perfect drum set. Make it sound like something.
Right.
Work with what you have.
Work with what you have. Stop being selfish. You are not Tony Royster Jr. You're not Jay Z's drummer. You're not drumming for Alicia Keys or none of these folk. You're just
Mhm.
gifted and you're playing for the church. You're playing for Christ. Bring your A game.
Right.
And I'm
Exactly.
gonna shut up there. Cause
There's
bro, there's a
one
whole
more
list.
thing. There's one more thing that I wanted to add. Learn different styles of Christian music.
Yes.
Now, most of us grew up conservative Caribbean Christians. Me.
Mhm.
I am people. People are me. Okay. We heard two styles of music. Um, the hymn is seeking the lost, yes, kindly entreating,
There's so many
wonder
ways to play that song.
on, huh?
There's so many ways to play that song. That's my favorite hymn, Seeking the Lost. That's my
Okay.
favorite hymn.
It's my favorite to sing because I get to flex and sing the baritone part. But in conservative Caribbean, yeah, I'm a baritone. In conservative Christian churches, that is going to be one style of song. The next style of song is going to be Halikamar high in my lamp, keep me burdened. Halikamar high in my lamp, I pray. That's called choruses.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And sorry, there's a third style that you'll often find in most Caribbean churches. Hear my cry, oh God, attend unto my
Mm-hmm.
prayer.
Yep.
Okay. As a musician, you have to know, and when you said read the room, it triggered that thought. You have to know different styles of music because you never know what the room is going to call for until you're in the room.
Correct.
So you may show up to the room ready to play Hear my cry, oh God, attend unto my prayer. So all you practice was ding 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 ding. That's all you practice. But then you get to service, and instead of singing that, they sing, um, let the power fall when your name is called, prove the doubters wrong. And now you're stuck because you don't know how to switch.
Wow.
It is very, very important to play all styles of music, or at least have a basic understanding of how to wing it. Like, at least that much. So I would suggest spending a week to learn hymns and learn all of them, not just the choruses. Learn the verses because the worship leader may be in church and all they hear is prone to wonder, Lord, I feel it. And you have to know how to play prone to leave the God I love, which is the last part of the song,
Right.
not even the first part. Or you may be at a funeral and you are requested to play singing up in heaven such as we have never known. And you can't look at the deceased family members and say, I don't know that hymn.
I don't
Ooh.
know that one either.
Holy, holy is what the angels sing, and I expect to help them make the courts of heaven ring. You better know it.
That's my mom's favorite song. I had to learn that to real
It
young.
was it was my father's favorite hymn. And it has affectionately become one of mine since his passing. But I say all that to say, as a musician, you need to know every style of music that could be played in a church setting at any time. Do not assume that because you attend conservative Christian church that the worship leader may not break out with Miranda Curtis. and
Oh.
and likewise, do not assume that because you come from a prophetic house that the pastor may not get up and go, yes, yes. And now you're just like,
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
I don't know what comes next. Right? So make sure that you are well versed in different styles of Christian music. Also, fix your countenance. Like check your face. There are clips of us going viral as musicians because someone went up to sing something and our faces was very telling. Or our faces were very telling. If you don't have a poker face, practice in the mirror. No one needs to know that you are just as confused as a congregation because the media guy caught your face. So be mindful of your facial expressions. Be mindful of your snickering, be mindful of your giggling, be mindful of how you are presenting in service. Like, be mindful. You do not want to dishonor God because you are clowning the soloist because they're off key.
I'm
But
it's true. It's true. It's
the
true.
truth. Like, that time I didn't mean it as a joke, but it's the truth, right? How
We've
many
all done it. I've done it.
we've all done it. We've all done it where the musician is being obnoxious in proving that you don't know your keys, right? And you're singing, I need thee, oh, I need thee, but you're in all of the keys. And rather than for them to just stop and let you sing it in all of the keys, they do the ping, 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 to be obnoxious and prove that you don't know what you're. Don't do that. Am I wrong or
Oh snap!
wrong or right? How many times have we not heard the ping, ping, ping coming from the piano?
Of course. Especially when the pianist doesn't know other keys.
Right.
No, no, no,
Oh
no, no.
man.
Right. That's when it's worse. The pianist only knows how to sing in play in C major because it doesn't involve any of the sharps and flats. So they're a fish out of water when you show up singing an A. They are confused. What do you mean a black key? I don't know what to do with the black keys. It's there for decoration. It's not there to be used. So they can only play in C. The singer is singing in E, F, and G all at the same time, and all you're hearing is ping, 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 ping. Don't do that. And like you said, if you didn't practice it in rehearsal, don't play it in Sunday. Okay.
That's all.
Um, uh, there's a comedian. His name slips me. He has locks. And he was like, the song is a munchkin, right? Just just eat the munchkin and enjoy the munchkin. Some of you musicians add too much to the songs.
I think I know who you're talking about. I follow him on Instagram. He
You
funny.
add you add mustard and ketchup. You add sweet chili and honey. You add all the seasoning and spices in your cabinet, and you give it to people, and they don't want to eat the munchkin because it has everything on it.
Exactly.
Sometimes you don't need to do all the runs and riffs. You don't need to dance on the keyboard. You don't need to flirt with the drum. You don't need to do all of that. Just play the song. Play the song. Just play the song. I don't need to know that you know all the keys. I just need you to play in the key of the song that we discussed last night. So oftentimes, sometimes musicians will show off with their instrument and prove that they're the best in the band. And all you serve at that point is a distraction. Please don't do that. Just
You said you should have said something real quick.
go.
Not every song deserves all these runs. It just doesn't call for it.
Thank you.
It doesn't call for it. Like
Thank
doing
you.
a run and it not sounding great is equivalent to a drummer not landing on a one when he's supposed to.
Mm.
We don't need it. And for other musicians, especially if y'all play in the church, please, 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 please learn the pauses in regular hymnals because there'll be some songs that are being played, and when it comes for
It's
maybe a
loud.
3 or 4 second pause, you'll either rush in the song or lag in the song.
They don't like following the dotted third or the whole note. After I went
Do you want to know why they don't like following it? They don't know what it means because they can't read sheet music. That's why they're not
Oh
following it.
wow.
They don't know what it means. And I don't say that in a shady way. A lot of musicians feel that reading sheet music is antiquated and it's null and void. And I don't need to learn sheet music. I just need to listen to the song. And I didn't know that until one day I was teaching the choir a piece. I heard a song and I was like, wow, I like it, but it's not doing what I wanted to do. So I rearranged the piece
Hmm.
because I read sheet music because I'm classically trained.
Mm.
So I rearranged the piece. And my best friend at the time was majoring in music at Lehman College. So he literally comes over to my house and we are up until like maybe 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'm singing each section. And he's like, I don't know how this is all in your head. Like this is living in your head rent free because I know professors that can't do this. You hear the chord and then you're able to sing each section one by one. So you're singing the soprano note. It sounds weird to me, but then when it all comes together, it makes sense. I said, well, it's living in my head. Like I know what I want it to sound like. I just need the sheet music. So I was very proud of myself. I come to rehearsal with my sheet music, and the musician looks at me and goes, "What's this?"
Oh no.
I was like, "It's the sheet music." And he goes, "Where's the audio recording?" And I was like, "There is none." Like he goes, "Well, did you download this?" No, I wrote it. Like I created it. Like this lives in my head rent free. Play it. And he got real quiet and he goes, "Hannah, I can't read sheet music."
Mm.
You never know when you're doing music. Sometimes you're playing for the Sunbeam Choir, and sometimes you're playing for the Ladies Chorale, and sometimes you're playing for the Men's Quartet, and sometimes you're playing for the old people, the Sanctuary Choir. Sometimes you're playing for all four, and you have to be prepared and equipped to play for all four. You should at least know the difference between a treble, an alto, and a bass staff. You should know the difference. You should know what 4/4 means. You should know what 6/8 means. Those are time signatures. It tells you how fast and slow the song is going.
Right.
You should know when you see 3 sharps or 4 sharps, what key we're playing in. If you
Mm.
see 2 flats or 1 flat, what key we're playing in.
Right.
If you should know if I see a dotted repeat that I'm repeating until further notice.
Right.
Like this is your craft. That's like saying I'm fluent in English but I can't read it. Then you're not fluent in English.
Mm.
Mercy. Oh, one last thing. One last thing. One last thing. This is the last thing I gotta say. My bad, bro.
All right, go ahead, man.
Just because you have the most expensive equipment does not make you nice.
Thank you.
Just
Mm.
saying.
Say that
Just
Just
because
again.
saying.
you have access to liquid funds.
I'm telling you, just because you got the newest red keyboard, what is it, a Norg, doesn't
Yes.
make you nice. Just because you got the brand new PDP that DW pushed out, does not make you nice. Just because you got a 7 string and only play it on a 4, doesn't make you nice.
Thank
Just
you.
because Corey Henry done did it all, just because you've seen somebody do it, doesn't mean you can do it. Get your practice up. All right, I'm finished. I'm done.
Thank you. We could go on about what to teach the up and coming musician.
So
You
much.
could go on, and a lot of it comes from like personal experience. That's
Hmm.
why we're so passionate about it. We don't want you to make the same mistakes that we did.
Period.
Right. Let me tell you, when I was in school, I was studying to be an audio engineer. So I had to do keyboard harmony, ear training, sight reading. For one of my classes, I had to literally write out sheet music as my final project. But I will tell you how helpful it was. Like I think around 2010 was probably the last time that I took a sight reading class, and I learned 2 different pieces. One of the pieces I learned was minuet, and like after 2 3 years, I can only remember so much because I was reading the sheet music, and then after that, from memory, I was playing it. But after a while, it started fading away, and the only way I can play it now is by playing each piece separately on the piano.
Right.
But I'll tell you another thing. As a drummer, also, I was a part of my church's orchestra, and there was this piece. I don't know if you guys remember. There was this commercial called Diamonds Forever. I don't remember the name of the actual company, but they used to play this classical piece, and I recognized it. And I was given the sheet music for drums, and I was like, okay, I know this because I spent a total of 3 to 4 years learning how to play sheet music, and I was so happy. Um, we spent various rehearsals perfecting this piece, and then it was the last piece to play to close out service. And I was so proud of myself, like, yo, I'm actually reading sheet music as a drummer, something that I never did before I got to college.
That's what's
So
up.
I still have some of that skill in me. If I could go back, I could look at the song Redeemed, and now I realize, okay, this is
Which
why
one?
those chords.
337 or 338? Because
I
it's
like 337.
I think it's the Redeemed, how I love to proclaim it. Redeemed, that one. The
That's
other one I don't
38, ain't it?
really like that much. It's cool, but
What?
it
Oh,
just
dude.
The other one slaps.
That's the best
Redeemed,
one.
how I love to proclaim it.
Actually, you know what?
Redeemed by the blood of the
You're right.
Lamb.
It's just it sounds a little bit different. They're both good in their own way, you know.
Played in F though,
Um,
man. You got a good game.
Mhm.
but
Now, it
yeah,
sounds dope when you play them together.
Yeah, yeah.
It sounds dope when you have one congregation singing redeemed one side singing redeemed how I love to proclaim it, and the other side singing redeemed how I love to proclaim it together.
yeah.
That's a different kind of praise, man. Oh my
It's
gosh.
so dope. It's so dope. For those that are not Adventists, we're just having a very I mean, I'm not anymore, but we just had a very Adventist moment with the hymnal.
The only musicians I know who are piano players or organ players, especially in the Hammond department, um, from Mount Sinai, Hopeton and Desi. I don't really see them two no more, but this is all when Joey Collins was alive. And
Hold
dog,
on.
oh
Wait, Smith?
Mhm.
Hold on, wait, Smith?
no, you remember Joey from he was a
No,
drummer
no,
for
no,
Mount Sinai at one point.
no, no. No, I know that. I'm talking about the pianist you talking about. You talking about Hope and Smith?
I'm not sure, but he was very light skinned, very tall, and he used to play with the weight on the bass a lot.
Oh nah. All right, then I'm thinking about
This is the
somebody.
old believers in
Somebody else.
Christ. When my mother used to direct it. This is way back in the day. This is directly after Kathy left.
See, I don't know any of these people. I know some people from Mount Sinai, but I don't know everybody like that. So I only know some people. I do remember there was this kid at Joey's funeral. I think he was a drummer also, like young boy, braids, mad long.
Short,
He
yep,
was there.
yep.
Yeah, he was a beast on drums, right?
He still is a beast on drums. I'm not sure if he
Oh,
still
okay.
plays now, but at that time, yeah, he definitely was a beast because Joey taught all of us, man.
Oh wow.
He taught all of us. Like I remember, I this is an old memory, but I was just messing around his kid, and I just took the drum key and just started tightening the heads extra, extra hard. This is when he had the white timer set, and no one knew who did it. When the audio room saw me fidgeting with it, so they knew I did it, but I kept lying, bro. I remember everything. Like, but no, I do it. Yeah, sorry, it was you. Don't lie and tell the church it wasn't you. It was you. I'm like, it wasn't me. Lying through my teeth because it was.
Yeah.
Man,
But you see, let me say something very important. Um, when you have fellow church musicians that actually want to give the younger kids guidance instead of pushing them, be like, "Yo, go away." It's such a blessing because they don't realize how their mentorship is going to help shape that person's future and musicality.
Mhm.
Like you don't know if that person can just go from playing for a storefront church to next thing you know they playing for Rihanna or they doing this or they doing that. I saw a young lady from Mississippi Children's Choir, and she sang the lead on "I'm Blessed." I went and I looked her up, and I think she was singing background for Lizzo or somebody else. It's like you never know exactly
Where people
where people can be taken. Like at least put some of these young musicians under your wing. Like all of the church musicians that have gifts and all that. Don't be like the older church folks that pushed you away and didn't allow you to grow or even support or encourage you. Encourage this younger generation that's here before you because they're gonna need the guidance. You know what I
and
mean?
on top of that, we have to understand that we were there at one point. We were young. I remember
Right.
wanting to play all the chops. I remember wanting to play everything. And like, dude, I forgot this brother's name. They used to play for Queensboro. You know what I'm talking about. Big dude used to play the bass. The other dude, he wore glasses, very light skin. He used to play the drums, and they all used to roll together.
I know exactly who you're talking about. You're
you
talking
would
about you're talking about Vaughn and them, right? You know
Yeah,
you're talking about Vaughn and them, right?
yeah.
Yeah, of,
So
of course, of course.
anytime I would see Vaughn playing drums at Elmont Temple because they're having some kind of youthful praise, whatever. As soon as he would see me, I'd be like, "Yo, can I play this song?" And he would let me. Like things like that is what's needed. Sometimes these kids they just need a shove in the right direction. Like, come on, little man, I'll tell you how to do a paradiddle. I'll tell you how to now intricate that around the entire kit.
Right.
We were kids. I remember being in that position, so it does not hurt to just lead these kids in the right direction. Just give them a couple
Mhm.
of any type of advice, believe me, they will leave you alone so much faster.
There is there is one thing that I do want to add, right? We spent this specific question on how can, if I could say something to a younger musician, what would it be?
Yeah.
I think we also need to add, what should the older musicians be doing? Or if we could say something to the older musicians, what would it be? Right? Because Trini and I were kind of in the middle. We're not as novice as a younger musician,
Yeah.
right? But I'm not as skilled as the organ doctor,
Mm,
right? So I still have growing to do. And
same.
I think one thing that older musicians should be reminded of is that they still have growing to do. You have not arrived. There is still a measure of novice in you. Our responsibility is to find out what it is and work on it. For example, I just got to the point where I could do a 45-minute set by myself and not get hoarse.
Mm,
6 months ago, 20 minutes into the set, my voice would just be like, and we're done. Like my voice just got to the point where I could beat it up for 45 minutes or an hour straight. No
Wait, hold
stop.
on. Consistently or breaks in between?
No. 45 minutes straight. Like a 45-minute set.
hey, that's that lemon tea and ginger. You hear me?
And
For real.
I've never seen no church do a set. I know there's some churches out there that do 45 minutes. Mercy.
but that's why I said when it comes to prophetic houses, worship is until.
Mm.
We start and it goes until Jesus says stop. Huh? Hello. IHOP does 2-hour segments where the worship leader is doing. IHOP, International House of Prayer, does
Mhm.
praise and worship 24/7.
Let's be careful with that name. We don't want to get in trouble.
That sounds fun.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
However, it's broken up into 2-hour segments. So Trini, you're doing 10 to 12.
Hmm.
I'm doing 12 to 2 a.m.
Yeah, sounds about right.
So at any point in time, I could log on and I should be getting a worship experience that will remind me of being in church in the building.
Mm.
I can't give you crap. So,
Mm,
what do I have to do to my voice that will allow me to produce quality without compromising my voice?
Mm.
I just got to the point where I can do a 45-minute set and not feel like I need to take 2 days to rest my voice. So there are still things that I need to learn. I
that's
don't
impressive.
know all the language. I don't know all the I don't know numbers. I
Mm,
can't go to a musician and say 4, 3, 5. I will say the number, but I will not, like, in my brain, I'm just calling numbers. It doesn't correlate to a chord. So I'll say 4 when I really need to say 6, but my brain cannot register that. But I
Mm.
can say give me an A and diminish the chord, like diminish the third. I can say that. I can say give me a flat seventh, and I in my brain I know what the flat seventh sounds like.
Mm.
So I can tell the musician, your pinky is in the wrong place, move it over 2 notes. That's the chord that I want to hear.
mhm.
As a seasoned musician, you still have room to grow. And believe it or not, some of the younger musicians, because they have time to spend working on their craft for 10 hours a day, there are certain things that we can do that we cannot do. It's okay to let them teach us.
That's a good point right there. Not everybody knows about the 2-3 up 5.
It's okay if you're older and seasoned, and this is going to hurt. It's okay to say, I fought the good fight.
I finished the race. I have kept the faith.
I am retiring.
It is time to throw in the
Oh
towel.
man.
We surrender.
It's okay to step down. It's okay to say, I've been doing this for 30 years. Maybe I need to transition from leading to counseling, from leading to consulting, from leading to teaching. Maybe I need to not hold the mic in this aspect. Maybe I need to train someone else up.
Mm, mm, mm.
You should have been training someone up from when Granny was a girl, right? Like from the time you take the mic, you should be spotting who can take this over when I step down in 2 years, when I step down in 3 years. You should be training people, right? So I would say as an older musician, know when it's okay to take a step away. Know when it's okay to be like, I still have an area to grow in. I haven't arrived. I don't know all the answers. Learn to apologize. I'm
Mm.
sorry. I offended you. I hurt your feelings. I said something that I shouldn't have said, or I was unkind, or I made a judgment, or I condemned you when I really should have minded my business and closed my mouth.
Mm.
I sowed seeds of discord and I'm reaping what I'm sowing. This isn't the devil. This is just me reaping what I sowed. It's okay to say, I messed up. I'm sorry. So that would be, we can focus on the younger group, but we also need to highlight that with the seasoned saints.
Mm.
That's right. And on that note, I would like to thank our special guest, Hannah Love, for joining us. I'd like to
This was
thank
my
Trini
favorite
also as
episode
well.
by far.
This is episode 18. Um, we just made 2 years, so we've been doing this now for 2 years. This is episode 18, Musicians in the Church. Next month we will be back. All right, you guys have a great night, and thanks for watching. God bless.
This was the best one so far. I love these questions.